welcome to the Deep Dive. We always try to cut through the noise and figure out what's really going on. And today, we're diving into a space that feels both really familiar, but also kind of radically new. It's that intersection, right, between traditional finance think banks, payments, the usual stuff, and the whole fast-moving world of blockchain tech. So our mission for this deep dive, we really want to uncover how Fiserv, a huge player in financial services, isn't just watching this happen. They seem to be actively, building the bridges between these two worlds. Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to focus on two pretty significant things Fiserv is doing, initiatives that are really starting to reshape how payments and digital assets, how they talk to each other.
Yeah, it's a fascinating time because, for ages, these big established financial players, they have this tricky problem. How do you actually embrace all this new digital asset stuff without completely breaking the systems you already rely on? So what we'll look at today are some really concrete strategic steps Fiserv is taking, steps to connect those very established, very traditional payment rails with the new blockchain innovations, making it, potentially much more accessible for, frankly, a massive audience.
Okay, so let's start with maybe the groundwork, something that happened a little while back but seems pretty foundational. Back in October 2023, there was this announcement about Metal blockchain integrating with Fiserv. Sounds like a really key piece. What does that integration actually mean for, say, a business that wants to use blockchain applications? How does Fiserv sit in?
Right, so the key here is really how practical it is. You've got Metallicus, they're the folks who developed Metal blockchain. And Metal blockchain, it's what's called a layer 0 platform. Think of it like the base layer that other blockchains or apps can build on top of. So this integration, what it does is let partners using Metal blockchain accept, normal payments, traditional stuff. We're talking credit cards and ACH, e-checks, direct bank transfers.
Okay. So directly into the blockchain application.
Exactly. And it all runs through Fiserv's existing pretty heavy-duty infrastructure, specifically their ISV payments engine and the CardPointe gateway. That's kind of their core processing platform for merchants and software vendors.
So it's like bringing the everyday world of credit cards and bank payments right into that blockchain environment. Almost makes the blockchain space feel less like this totally separate island for money movement. Seems like that would solve a big problem.
That's precisely it. Historically, one of the big hurdles for getting blockchain more mainstream has been that lack of easy, familiar ways to pay. Fiserv is tackling that head on. The main goal here is to unify those blockchain capabilities with traditional payments all inside one, hopefully smoother platform. And it's not just about the payment itself. It brings other benefits too, like automating workflows, potentially better compliance, more control over data. And for any business, getting real-time financial info is huge, right? For planning, tracking revenue, reporting, all that good stuff, it aims to cut down the friction.
That makes total sense for getting traditional money into the blockchain world. Okay, but then there's the other side of the coin, maybe even more ambitious, right? Fiserv actually creating its own digital currency. Here's where it gets really interesting. This was announced just June 2025. Fiserv planning its own stablecoin. That feels like a massive step for a company so rooted in traditional finance. What's the story with this new initiative?
Oh, it absolutely is a huge step. So the stablecoin has a name, FIUSD, Fiservs Own Coin. And they're not doing it alone. They've partnered up with some pretty significant players in the digital asset world, namely Circle Internet Group, behind USDC and Paxos. And the plan is for it to run on the Solana blockchain. They're expecting it to launch sometime by the end of 2025.
Solana. That's interesting. Known for speed, scalability.
Yeah.
Given Fiserv's massive network, how does FIUSD actually plug into that? And how does Solana handle that kind of potential volume?
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. It's specifically designed to slot right into Fiserv's existing network. We're talking like roughly 10,000 financial institutions, banks, credit unions, et cetera. And get this, 6 million merchant locations. Just think about the potential reach there for getting digital assets used more widely. So FIUSD itself is built for programmable payments, settling transactions 24/7. And importantly, it's got built-in stuff like risk controls, fraud monitoring, audit tools, things institutions need. They're also planning to add tokenized deposits later on, which is another whole layer of innovation.
Tokenized deposits, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is it's not just another stable coin floating out there. Fiserv seems to be strategically positioning FIUSD as like a foundational piece for enterprise-level digital payments. They're leveraging the trust and the reach they already have to scale up digital assets in a way that maybe purely decentralized projects have found challenging on their own.
And I think I read something about interoperability. making it work with other stablecoins. That sounds pretty crucial for it to be useful.
Absolutely. That's a key feature. They're specifically building an interoperability with PayPal's stablecoin, PYUSD, which means ideally you could convert between them pretty easily. That's huge for usability for liquidity. And there's another partnership, too. They're working with MasterCard. That's for supporting things like payment cards linked to FIUSD and options for merchants to get settled in FIUSD. So yeah, it shows they're thinking about the whole ecosystem, really embedding this into how payments already work.
Okay, so let's try and connect these dots. We've got the Metal blockchain integration, which helps bring traditional payments into blockchain apps. And then we have FIUSD, Fiserv's own stablecoin, pushing digital asset features out across its massive network. So how did these two things really intersect? What's the bigger picture here for finance? So what does this all mean?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, I think both moves really point towards the same overall goal. They're both designed to bridge that gap between blockchain innovation and the traditional financial plumbing. The Metal integration, that gives those blockchain apps the on-ramps they need: credit card, ACH to deal with regular money, removes a big barrier. Then FIUSD, that's about Fiserv pushing stablecoin capabilities and programmable money out to its existing huge client base, the banks, the merchants, giving them new tools.
And you mentioned something earlier about integration costs for FIUSD. That sounded important.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really big carrot they're dangling. For clients already using Fiserv's network, the plan is no upfront integration cost to adopt FIUSD. That seriously lowers the barrier for a bank or a merchant to start experimenting or using stablecoins. So both these efforts, they really underline Fiserv's bigger strategy, right? To use their trusted existing payment infrastructure to power these new blockchain financial services. Now, why should you, listening, care about this? Well, if you're a business or maybe a fintech developer, that MedAlley integration, it makes it way easier to build solutions that mix digital assets and normal payments without, duct taping systems together. And if you're a bank or a merchant, FIUSD looks like a pretty clear and, importantly, a cost-effective way to get into stablecoin transactions, especially now that we're starting to see maybe some regulatory clarity, like with the potential U.S. Genius Act aiming to set rules for stablecoins. That timing is interesting. And for the wider financial world, this really shows Fiserv shifting, doesn't it? From just being the pipes for old school payments to becoming a key enabler for, digital asset-powered commerce and institutional stuff.
Okay, so boiling it all down then, what's the final takeaway, the bottom line on Fiserv's strategy here?
I think the bottom line is this dual strategy. It's pretty clear. First, the Metal blockchain Fiserv integration. That extends the reach of real-world payments, credit and ACH, into those blockchain partner applications. Second, Fiserv's own FIUSD stablecoin platform. That builds the digital asset capabilities directly into their huge global payments and banking network. Put them together, and it shows Fiserv is serious about bridging traditional payments and these on-chain financial services and doing it at a really significant scale.
Oh, and one important clarification for you listening. While it's all part of one big strategy, these aren't like one single combined product you can buy today. They are distinct initiatives right now. That makes sense. Distinct, but pointing in the same direction. This really does raise an important question. Maybe it's something for you to think about after this. As this bridge between the traditional world and the on-chain world gets stronger, thanks to moves like these from Fiserv, how quickly will that really accelerate mainstream adoption of digital assets? And maybe more excitingly, what kind of completely new financial products or services might pop up that we haven't even really thought of yet now that these connections are being built?
It's definitely a space to watch. I mean, understanding the plumbing, the infrastructure, like what Fiserv is building, it's kind of crucial to figuring out where finance is actually heading. The implications are, potentially enormous for how we all handle money and assets down the road.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us in this deep dive into what Fiserv is up to. Definitely keep exploring these topics. They're changing fast. And we'll catch you next time.